we are recording. Welcome to DPA Talks, DPA Open Mic channel. And today we are going to be discussing more coups going on the African continent. And it's going to be revolving around some coups we didn't get to mention on the last recording. And it's going to be segueing over to how can these various countries in different predicaments prevent being couped. Finished by, well, a special treat regarding how they can prevent being couped, I guess you can say. So, just going to be introducing a couple of new panelists, or new, that depends on how you put it. On the previous, we had Jesse from Nigeria and Alpha from Guinea. Unfortunately, Makiadi from Kenya and Voz from Angola was unable to attend then or join us then, but fortunately they're here with us now. We also have my special co-host Shadowy, which is falling asleep. Anyways, so we're going to be wrapping up some loose ends on the on that. And I think, Makiadi, why don't you introduce yourself to those who haven't seen you before, and you maybe tell us which country you think is likely to be experiencing a coup very soon.
Yeah, so as my name is Makiadi, and I'm from Kenya. And so, yeah, we've seen this stream of coups, and for sure, I don't think they're going to stop. I mean, the only way to kind of stop them is for all these countries to band together and start trying to fight the countries that get couped. But as you saw, Nigeria tried to do that and scare Nigeria. That didn't work. ECOWAS tried. That didn't work. And I don't think it can work because it's very unpopular, or military interventions are very unpopular. So I think everybody obviously is aware that Cameroon is definitely one of the countries that's very much in danger of a coup. But other than Cameroon, I think Chad. Chad, because the previous event, there was something happened where a French nurse apparently killed a Chadian soldier. I can't remember the exact details of how that became, but Chadians were very mad, and they went to basically go retaliate against the French military base. And the response of the Chadians was a little bit worrisome. Not only like the physical response where they went ahead and tried and stop these people from getting into the French military base, which is understandable, is their rhetoric after that, where they were sort of taking a middle ground. If your country is suffering from extreme poverty, you can't have a middle ground between the French and the people. No, you have to take a strong commitment against who the people don't like, and it's not really going to destroy your relations to the French. The French need you more than you probably need them, so they're not going to go anywhere. But so that response showed me that government is either they're not very smart or they're weak. Other than that, I can't think of any other country in the immediate, but almost any country in the Sahel is more or less is probably in trouble, because like you can't have a country that's has like some of the highest poverty in the planet, and then people get to watch you on television going to France and drinking expensive wine with very French celebrities. They want to kick you out, So, yeah.
Well, thank you. I think the thing mentioned about the Chadian soldiers actually had to beat up Chadian people who were wanting to beat up French soldiers. Is kind of telling in that regard. Like it shows a bit of maybe not positioning yourself on the popular side. I think there's a lot to be said on that. We can, you heard it here, folks. If Chad is up and coming, it was already called here. But I think there's also another coup that has been going on that I think we just barely touched upon on the previous recording, and I think it's going to be segueing us well into this, the essence of this recording. So, Vosh, why don't you introduce yourself? And,
yeah, before you pass the voice to me. I think Shadwi had something to say about what Makiadi just said. Okay, Shadwi.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm
sorry,
very
please.
surprised that you were talking about the poor people in Chad, because in the last coup we have seen the origin of the coup was the military. It was not about the people, it was only about the military. In Gabon, it was the presidential guard. In Niger, also the presidential guard. Mali is the military. And the question is not what the poor people want, but what the military want.
Well, I mean,
often it's not the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can make that distinction, but the thing is that if you overthrow a country, you're still ruling over people. If those people are dissatisfied, it doesn't matter how many guns you have. At the end of the day, you have to go if they don't like you. You can have as many guns as possible, but at the end of the day, if the majority of the country does not consider you legitimate, you can use as much force as you want, but eventually it's always a matter of time. So even if you overthrow the government and you're powerful, you still have to try and even pretend to care about the people.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can't just use the boot, you know.
Okay, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I'm Vosh. I'm from Angola.
And most times the people give the military the reason to coup. If the people are complaining, yes. For example, most military men has brothers and sisters that are civilians. Now, when you wake up in the morning, you will see that the phone calls you receive is from your people to like eat, to feed, to clothe. You are the only person doing the government work in the family. You know the burden is much. You as a military man, you know, okay, if the government was really, really okay, my people wouldn't have been pestering me. You understand? So most times, the people gives the military the reason to coup. Because once they are pressured, they are all one family. The family get pressured. And an elder brother have to do something about it. That's just it.
Yeah. As I was saying, Vosh, I'm from Angola. And my opinion for the next possible coup in Africa is going to be to any country that speak French. Yeah. If any country that speak French. Because if you see, there is this country in North Africa, like Morocco, Algeria. Yeah. This country, they really hate France. They really do. And they are happy with it happening in West Africa or Central Africa. Basically, these countries been telling countries from North Africa, they've been telling you need to get rid of the French in your country. They are bad news for years, like 40, 50 years. This country been wake up a long time ago. And now they seeing things is happening. And they're supporting this kind of thing. Like Algeria just said, they're not going to allow France to airstrike Niger. It's a no. This is a no. France, no, got no business here. Yeah. And there is a country no one ever talked about. It's Congo, Brazzaville. I remember when I was a kid, the president of Congo, Brazzaville was Denis Sassou Nguesso. And then it disappeared. I thought he's gone for good. And a couple of weeks ago, I said, there was a coup in Congo, Brazzaville. Then Sassou Nguesso said, fuck off. This guy is gone like years ago. Nah, he came back after 5 years, you know. He came back in 97. He's been there for long. And that country, you know, when you are in Atlantic Ocean, you see your country is rich. Every country in Atlantic Ocean is rich in oil. Every single country. Every single country in that area. And I was like, why this guy still the president of a country like Congo? Why? Because of France. When he left, France put him back because they need him. They need him. The same reason, like I remember the other president was Ali Bongo's dad. Omar Bongo, yeah. These two presidents, they were really, really friends. I only remember all this kind of country because north of Angola, they go a language, Bakongo. And they are this kingdom called Bakongo Kingdom. So this Bakongo Kingdom is north of Angola, Congo Kinshasa, Congo Brazzaville, Gabon, and Cameroon. Yeah, basically they speak that language, Bakongo. And this kind of thing, when there was something in this country, people from north of Angola, they knew because of the language they speak, basically the same food, the same kind of dance, same kind of music, and some part of Ivory Coast. Yeah. And when Omar Bongo left the power, people in Congo, Kinshasa, were like, wow, about fucking time. Why? Because he was a friend of Mobutu Sese Seko. And these people had the same problem, corruption. Led by France. Congo is one of the richest countries in Africa. People say it's the richest country in Africa. I say Angola is the richest country in Africa, followed by Congo, Kinshasa. But if you Google it, they're gonna say Congo is the richest one.
I appreciate that you mentioned Congo Brazzaville because Jesse, mute yourself. Jesse, mute yourself, please. Yeah, there's a lot of feedback or something. Yeah, because you mentioned on the open mic, Vosh, that something wasn't right with Congo Brazzaville, and there's been a alleged coup attempt in the Congo Brazzaville, but the government there is denying it. And I thought we would just use this then to kind of segue into the main meat of this recording, which is going to be preventing coups. And we touched a little bit upon this on the last recording, by basically, referring to the circumstance. We also actually already had alluded to the economic circumstances, which many people are familiar with, that there are some varied interests and so forth. But what we're going to be trying to look a little bit into now has to do with this alleged coup attempt occurring in the Brazzaville, Congo, and the also alleged coup occurring in Burkina Faso against Ibrahim Traoré. And the big difference here is that in the Congo, Brazzaville, Congo, the government there has denied any coup attempt, and they have been in power for decades, as Vosh just outlined. Whereas the government in Burkina Faso has been couped recently and then couped again. So this is like a freshly, cyclically couped country that is certainly in a different predicament there. And also, they did not deny that they were being couped. So I wondered who here wants to actually maybe illuminate a little bit about that, because both of these countries are still within the French sphere. These are the countries most likely to be couped, just like Chad as well. Isn't Chad the British sphere? Oh, Alpha.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Omar Diallo. I'm from Guinea-Conakry, West Africa. So there's 4 Guineas, so I'm on the biggest one out of all of them. So I would just say, as you were saying, Burkina, like for example, for Burkina Faso, like the coups that happen there, it's like, when people see, okay, it's an opportunity, think that they can just take it, they can just do it. Because they see everywhere it's happening. It's like right now in America, when everybody thinking that everybody's coming to America, now I get called every time. Oh, can I come? Can I come? Can you send me some money? I need to come to America. So it's almost seems like that, you know? So basically, the other issue thing I would say, even in Guinea too right now, because I just attended the General Assembly when the Guinea president was speaking. I didn't know outside there was protests. I didn't know that. So after I posted the video on my Facebook, my family members and all my friends sent me the second video about the other people protesting outside. It's like, did you see this? I'm like, no, I didn't see it when I came to the UN. So I was kind of a little bit confused because like I didn't know everything that was going on back there. It's like there's other issues too that are going in Guinea. So all these leaders, they still have because they're thinking that they have a coup, it's possible again to have a coup again after them. Because in Guinea, for example, when there was a coup in 2000, I believe, or 2000. If I'm not wrong, I don't remember the year. It's I think 2013 or 2014.
I think 2014.
14, right? Yeah, I believe so because it's been a while. When they couped, there's a protest again, and then there was a coup again. After, because whoever take power, they think that okay, I have control, but they don't know that sometimes the Western country is against whatever they're saying or whatever their interest is. They don't get it. They over coup you again. Because for Guinea itself, we have like something called bauxite that is like somebody need to mute their mic. It's kind of echoing.
Mute when you're not speaking because there's a lot of disturbances come from your mic. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Alpha, yeah, please go ahead.
So basically, like for example, for Guinea, we have bauxite like number 2 currently, like that produce it out of the world. You know, like some company or other government doesn't like when one leader comes trying to switch everything. So like as the speech he was giving, he was saying that we are not against France, we was not against US, we are not against China, we are not against all these, but just pro-Africans. So basically, he's just trying to cover his back, to be honest, because you know if he say he against any of those countries, they're definitely gonna be probably a coup against him. So yeah, so the other reason I think that right now they already do the hard work. What I would suggest that if I would advise them, right, is to start like unite this country like Guinea, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali as a what they call it, federation, because they already started. Because we need Africa to move from being individual countries.
Don't forget.
And not Guinea. I definitely know Guinea like to be independent.
Don't forget. Central
Gabon?
African Republic.
The African
Central.
Republic. So basically,
we need to start somewhere. That country really needs help. And they need your help, guys.
No, definitely. Basically, we need to start. So they already started. Just continue doing the next thing now. Let's not go back anymore. That's my suggestion. That's my advice. Because if they go back holding elections and these leaders sit down again, good luck trying to take these leaders out. Because they know, because like in Guinea, like for example,
just to keep us on track here, because you kind of mentioned as a possible counter to being couped for, let's say, Guinea, and that would also be for Burkina Faso would be to federate, right? And they partly have done so. They have, as far as I've gotten it, they have now a formal security alliance in order. So that if they haven't federated, they're definitely on their way there. But they're also, these are the Sahel coup belt, right? They are all kind of in their own little different grouping here. Like they do certainly distinguish themselves from, let's say, the DRC, the Congo or the Central African Republic. Chad, I think Makiadi would claim would be more of the Sahel coup. But let's take just to kind of address the Congo, for example. Like, what would you do actually, let's take the 2 countries in the region. One that has been recently couped, and that is in Gabon, which has a very different outcome and a very different characteristics than the other Sahel coups. And then just put it like this, aren't they still likely to be couped, just like the Sahel regimes? And then the follow-up for that would be, what would a government, a coup government, like similarly or differently to a government like Congo, which is likely to experience coup, may have already experienced a coup attempt and trying to suppress it? Like, how would these two, in that area, how would they actually, because they cannot necessarily, or can they federate with each other? Do they tie themselves more to the West, or what would be the suggestion there?
So the suggestion for me would be, like, first of all, try to listen to your people, because all the schools is successful because like the military knows that the people can support them. So that's the first thing you have to do. If you start switching around your military, always make sure your top leaders, they don't have like invest in outside countries or have outside interests, because that's how sometimes they get trapped. Okay, so basically, like I don't know if this is accurate. While Doumbouya was saying himself, he understands that the fact that many of these leaders are doing things that is against their interests and against the people of their interests, because some other leaders outside, like, I don't know if it's America or France or any other countries, have something that against something that basically they're using against them. So he said he knows that happened, but he knows why they choose that, but he's not approve of it. So that's where most of all these leaders in Africa need to start first. Do not invest.
Are you in a sense saying that one way, because one indicator that would put you at risk here is being one of those who store a vast amount of the country's asset abroad, that's going to be making you a target. So now that's already a fait accompli, I'm pretty sure, for both these actors, be it in Gabon or in Congo. Now, the Gabon might have a refreshed face, so to speak, because of it's been recently couped, but it's still, as far as I've understood it, the very same regime. So what would be then, for them, it would be to, because as far as I recall, didn't we touch upon that on the previous recording, that what they could do is, instead of putting all their assets abroad, they could invest them back home. And if they started doing that, they took their personal assets. Yeah, what would prevent them from doing that?
Like putting the asset in Africa alone, because they feel like it's not secure, and also they feel like it's like, let's say if they're out of power, whoever gonna take over, gonna seize everything. That's the problem. So we have to have laws basically that, if like, first of all, like, if you don't steal, why do you have to worry? But when they steal money, they send it to Dubai and other countries. So now it's very, very difficult for them to able to keep it. You understand?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. So since Doumbouya took over, you're within the Guinea where Doumbouya is the president, right? Is the leader.
Yeah, I am aware. Yeah.
Okay. So since he took over, has good things happened? Can you say it's more positive? Is it better than it was? Even if it's just the look of it.
So basically, he trying to build the roads, because like when Alpha Conde was leader, he was fixing the electricity. But now when he's come to power, he trying to build the roads most of the time, because people was complaining, especially the infrastructure in Guinea is terrible. They have a lot of resources, but the infrastructure is terrible. I'm told it's probably, Senegal will have more better road than Guinea, even though we have more resources than them. So he was going for that, and also building schools, and he also trying to make sure there's not corruptions, because he's trying to take those out. Whoever he knows that have corruptions, he's trying to take them out. So, but the problem is that, yeah.
And then the question I have is this is quite interesting. So the people who are in power, like the elites, not necessarily politicians, right? Like the most influential business people, did they remain in power after the coup? Are they still there? Are they still secure?
No, some of them still there. Some of them still there, but he was talking about, even in the UN, he was talking about that too. Some of the elite in Africa, not just in Guinea itself, they need to be really, what they call it? If they do something wrong, they should be punished for it. They shouldn't just let thing goes away, because there's a lot of corruption. Let's say if I go to right now in Guinea, if any police station, like any road states that are passed by, the police, whenever they see you, they know you don't have a license to drive in Guinea, but they ask for money. The first thing they say, oh, boss, come down, pull your window down. You pull your window down, you give them something, they say, go. If you don't give them no money, then they stop you. They like give you a hard time until you give them money, they let you go. That go from below all the way to the top. Even let's say you have a problem because my dad had an issue with the land that he have, but the guy who work in the government wanna steal some of the land, but because my dad is like trying to fight for that, but if both of them have to spend so much money, because all the people, they give you only the right if you spend more money. Whoever spend more money, you get the right. It doesn't matter if you have the right. Even if it's your land, you have the paper to prove it for years. This is my land. I give him the authority to use his car to pass through my land. But no, because he works for the government and he have money, he's like one of the leaders for the hospital in Kang. Because my dad told me, you know what, I let you pass through my land because I have the other land. I don't live there. But because he have that power, he wanted to steal everything. So
yep. And in Africa, if you want to get coup, mess with the land question. The question of land is the most sensitive issue back in Africa.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you for mentioning, because I was thinking here, when you were to be. Oh yeah, Jesse, please go ahead. You can go on camera too if you like, unless your connection is too shoddy. People watching, Jesse's connection is a little bit shoddy, so. Yeah, Jesse, go ahead.
It's okay. I've been holding myself because I don't want a situation where I will end up talking broad and fond of going very, very broad. A situation concerning Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, Nigeria. I'll just wait until when you guys said, okay, let's talk about those three together. Then I'll check in. But as for now, if I'm anything, I'll have to like fish or go carry along of them together. So
yeah, do you want to focus on the do you want to focus on the federative segment? Okay. Well, okay. So in that case, well, what I wanted to kind of ask you, Alpha, because you mentioned that, well, you have to kind of, in effect, you have to put a law in effect that prevents these the elites, the oligarchs, to having their assets, or they have to start pulling it back, and that will prevent you maybe from being couped from a popular point of view, arguably. But wouldn't that also simultaneously increase the chance of you being couped by the very same people who maybe got you into power in the first place? Many of like you mentioned, it's quite like you can go down into, well, on the land level, and that these landlords, they might also have assets abroad because they have, they also want to be storing their money somewhere safe. So once you start enacting a law like that, you from the bottom up, like basically, it won't be like I kind of imagine then that these people then who are the most influential within those society that are not considered political necessarily, but they do have a lot of social and subsequent political capital, likely a lot of financial interest as well. They would be definitely going along and spinning the be it media propaganda or otherwise, they would be pro-cooing, right? So you kind of like, so in the event of you choosing the strategy, let's say you're now Gabon or you're Congo, and you're seeing that, this is the domino effect is going all over the place, popular uprisings, people are now looking more and more at my side. Okay, what if I do this? I take this target off my back, I enact this law, I put it on decree, I will definitely get popular, and yeah, there will be a lot of chanting on the streets. But because you put into the law now that you can only have so much of the assets abroad, or maybe something like that.
Okay. So basically, I will give an example. Like when we get our independence, right? Toure was the leader. From that time to 1965, Guinea was #1 in the whole West Africa area, because he did not tolerate no corruptions, nothing. Like anyone, like at that time, all the Fulani people are scared of him. That's why Fulani people don't like him, to be honest. But all around the world, they loved him. I don't know how. But, like based on the history that I learned, there was no corruption. The security was really good because everybody know if you steal, you get into jail for right away. If you do any type of corruption, he catch you, you're lucky if he didn't kill you. You understand? It doesn't matter how high you are or how low you are. So he was really strict. So you need a leader that was very, very strict at that time. Because he sometimes he would drive with no security. That's how good at the time he was. But nowadays, in Guinea, if I go there, I always have to sometimes carry a pistol, to be honest. And I don't want to say, but sometimes I carry a pistol because I came from America. The people think that I have all kind of skills. Because that's how bad it is sometimes. I'm being honest. That's the fact. Because when I was there a couple of years ago, like nighttime, you don't sleep because these people want to rob you. They think that if they take all your money, they can come to America or they make something or something like that. You understand? That's start from there. Because sometimes even those people that come to your compound to rob you, it's people that you know, your family members. Sometimes they will be like, even sometimes they work for the military because they don't get paid enough or they're doing too much corruptions. Somebody gives them pay their money, they come at night time and use it as extra money to make. So these are the things that they need to take care of. Because the people going to support them, most of the people below, they're suffering. You understand? They will, even they themselves, they're going to support it because they know instead of spending too much money, let's say because many people from Guinea, they bring their stuff from China, but whenever they come to take it out, they have to sometimes lie about how much money they're spending. But sometimes if they're really able to spend the right money, and then they know how much money they're gonna make, and nobody gonna bother them, they love that more than if everybody stealing each other. Basically, they're gonna get support from the people in the bottom too, because a lot of people in the bottom too gonna love that too to support them. To be honest, no, definitely there's always gonna be cool, especially in Guinea. They're always gonna be cool. Like Alpha Conde, he had one of the best security. Just watch Guinea. He had one of the best security in Africa. Like he always have leaders, he always have military that follow him everywhere he go. But he still get cool. So basically, just build the infrastructure and make sure your people behind you and listen to your people. That's what I would say. I see that Nigeria, Niger, Ghana, Mali, Burkina Faso had their contract for the military thing. I'm glad that they did that, but I think it's a good thing that to keep Guinea out of it for now, because if in case if any war go between ECOWAS and them, because Guinea borders many other countries, border with Senegal, Liberia, and Guinea-Bissau and Sierra Leone, it will be very, very difficult for them to be able to send military to back to Guinea, because that means instead of them having their military face in Nigeria and the other side, it will be really hard for them to try to help Guinea. If Guinea stay in neutral, it will be helpful for them, because that means it's very difficult for them to Guinea to go attack Mali, because we are border with Mali. You understand? That's how I say.
Yeah, because that's kind of a logical conclusion that you kind of had it in there with the okay, you've enacted this law where you're preventing assets from going abroad, or at least you're regulating it to a point where you get popular support, and so you are now and you're ensuring that corruption stays low with heavy-handed methods.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Guinean people that love to go to Guinea. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that I know that have a lot of money outside in Guinea, like in Europe and other countries. They definitely want to go home. I myself, I'm tired of America, to be honest. But they want to go home to build something, but they can't do it because, first of all, the people, they don't trust their own people. Because when I send money to help my family members, they keep calling you for any stupid stuff. They think that you're stupid when you're outside. You understand? So I'm telling you, they give you, I swallow a nail. I need to go to the hospital. Can you send me $100? You're like, you think where I came from? You don't think I was born in Guinea myself, and you think I don't know? So so that's type of stuff that it happens. Sometimes you even give them money to keep it for you. They take it and steal it, and they run away with it, and they take it and go to different countries. Even when I first went there, I was looking to help Guinea away, because I went to Conakry. They was playing PlayStation 2, and I bring PlayStation 4 just to make it at least to catch up with the technology. But my friends that I let to have the team, After years, they told me, I didn't make no money. But before, when my wife was there, he was making like close to $100 a week. When my wife was there, was looking at it. But when my wife left for a year, and then 1 year later, I asked him what happened, how things going on. He's like, no, sorry, I don't make zero. Everything is broken. I bought like a lot of PlayStation 4s, like, just to make people, able to catch up with the technology. People trying to do something like that, but because of the people, they can't do it because there's no laws. You can't take them to prison or anything like that, or any laws for them to be able to pay you back. It doesn't happen. Yeah.
I think so. I think that corruption is definitely one of them.
Let me just chip in.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Let me just chip in a little bit. I totally agree with you, 101% extra. Yes, whenever you are, I won't lie to you. I will say I am the only Nigerian or let me say African, that I'm just like the South African guy, Julius. I am not interested in leaving this continent. Now, this is the fact. When we're on this call, my stepbrother called me on WhatsApp. That was what interrupted the network. He's in California. He's facing the same issue. He used to be like, this person will call him that and be telling him of problems he knows the solution here in Nigeria that don't even worth going to the hospital for. But because he's abroad, somebody will call him and start telling him a very minor problem and they're expecting something huge from him, as if he's packing the money from the ground. I say, bro, I normally tell him, bro, you are the cost. If you make yourself accessible to them, you will hear it. And somehow my stepbro like knowing everything that happened at home. He wants to know the cow that gave birth, the goat that died, the sister that got married. He has this big heart of love. You understand? He has this big heart. But at the other end, there's a price to everything. They pest him. I don't call him. I don't stress him because I don't envy him, to be frank. Now, this same guy, so I won't lie to you guys, there is more opportunity down here in Africa than on any continent on earth. I won't lie to you. If you know where to look and how to look. Yes, we are corrupt. Yes, some are corrupt. I will say 51% are corrupt. But out of this, there are still 49% that are still very, very okay. Yes, there are some businesses, if you want to go into in Africa, you will spend. And there are some businesses, if you want to go into in Africa, you will not spend a dime. It's just like removing crude oil from the ground. I'll just cut it short, agriculture. Agriculture is a very, very big market. If you know what to buy and where to sell it, or if you know what to farm and where to sell it. Very, very simple. Recently, I discovered that Export Commission in Nigeria don't even charge you for exporting agri products, like when you import. The export is cheaper than import duty. You understand? Now, coming back to the issue you made in Guinea, most Africans that don't travel, I would say, don't travel as in they were born in their village, they grew up in their village, and they are staying, or they were born in a town or a city or a state. They grew up in that town. They have not even traveled to the neighboring states. That's what I mean by don't travel. They don't know that life abroad and life back home here is not much different. They are all the same. The same sunshine, the same moon, the same wind. The only difference is sometimes they have 3 seasons, 4 seasons, while we have 2, rainy season and dry season. You understand? And most times when they say like, oh, you have gone abroad, they believe you have made it. Why not knowing that you are just trying to put 1 and 2 together? So my advice is, yes, you need to come home and do something. There is a friend of mine that is in St. Petersburg. He's building at home. I love him. He called and was like, I want to be. I said, bro, yes, it's good. He said his brother is going to watch over it. I said, yes, it's good. I asked him, is your brother on WhatsApp? He said, yes. He said, I told him, if your brother is every day, call him on WhatsApp. Let him be showing you video calls. Let him be showing you video or sending you videos on the site. If he's buying 100 blocks, let him show you at least in video he's buying 5 bags of cement, see the video. You understand? If he's bringing his sand for any other stuff, let him show you the video. You understand? Not video record and send to you. Live video call on WhatsApp. You see the 4 men on site. You see the people working on the site. You see everything. And since you just left home recently, if you see a land that you know was available before you left, and they are working on it, you know, okay, yes, this is my land. You understand? So technology these days makes it very, very easy. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. And
So,
again, ignorance.
I may jump in there because to something, yeah, there was this is something very relevant you said there regarding the agriculture, and it goes a little bit back to what Alpha said about land, right? And we're talking about how are you going to be able to prevent coup, and especially when you're dealing with endemic corruption, which kind of seems necessary to be dealing in a heavy-handed manner. But then, you know, there was also this example of, you know, you can have a perfectly splendid security guard that can, was it Alpha Condé had one of the best ones that you could come across, and yet he still, right? And the same predicament, if, as far as I understood it, wasn't that Sauvage Cameroon also has like an, they have he has an insanely good security, so that might explain he hasn't been couped yet.
Well, there's something. Go ahead.
The thing with people, these leaders in Africa, these leaders in Africa, you know, the longer they stay, more scared they get. And trust me, these people, they spend a lot more on their own security than helping people. I remember Angola, because Edward Santos was president from 1975 until like 2016, I think. 16. He died last year, but he wasn't president when he died.
Wait a minute. I don't think he was there since 75.
1979.
Oh, okay,
1979.
Yeah, 79.
75 was the first one. 75 was the first one. Only last 4 years. Yeah. I'm not going to go there again because you know why. Yeah. And, you know, he had security from, you know, the best soldier. Angola got a good army. Angola army is really, really good. It's one of the best in Africa. I think it's 5th or 6th, the best in Africa. Yeah. But his personal guard was way better than the Angolan army. And there was like 100,000 of them, you know? 100,000 well-trained people. Even they had like F-16. You know, they were proper army. And the same thing happened with this guy in Cameroon. He got one of the best. I think he got his second or third. Why? Because he's scared. He knows something is coming for him. Same thing happened in Gabon. Normally, I'm against this kind of coup. Trust me. The coup that happened in West Africa, I think it was needed because they hate French. But the one in Gabon, I'm 100% behind that one. It's nothing to do with the French. Now, it's just because of the people. Come on. 2 million people. 2 million people. And more than 1 million live in poverty. What kind of country is that? Gabon is a member of OPEC. These people should be paid to stay at home. The same thing go in Congo-Brazzaville. Congo-Brazzaville is, we know they go diamond and they go oil. Guess what else they got? Uranium. Guess who's dealing the Congo-Brazzaville uranium? France. And we know how much they pay for that kind of thing in these countries. This is why I think people are seeing, like, fuck, Gabon is like brother from Congo, Brazzaville, and Congo Kinshasa, both Congos. Gabon like their brother, and they see if they doing that, why can't we? Look at Congo. Congo is not country since 1970s, 1992. No, 1996, when shit started getting bad. And after that, there was a coup. Then there was another coup. There was a coup, they put Kabila. And then he wasn't doing the job. There was a second coup, and his son became president. And now there is another president there. But the country is not done because there is a lot of peacekeepers in that country. You know how many troops, peacekeepers there is in Congo? Just under 15,000.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot.
And
they kill these people.
And actually, one of the reasons why Congo would be so difficult to overthrow is because, like, now Uganda and Kenya have troops there. So
yeah.
if they try to coup the government, it's any military that tries to do that will have to sit and think because they don't know the reaction.
Everyone is taking a piece of the country, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They go things that we don't know, that resource the world doesn't know exist. There is in Congo. And the United Nations is doing nothing. Why? Because everyone is eating from that country.
But here's the thing, actually. And so I give an example of look at Paul Kagame, right? Paul Kagame has been there for a long time, too. But yeah. he doesn't face any threat of a coup. The reason why, it's a couple of things, but the most important reason is because the man is effective. You got to understand, people think that these people from all these African countries are asking for too much. They're asking for the basics. They're not asking you to, like, make it rain money. They're literally asking for an effective government. Literally, like, they will not even tell you to go. You can be president for life. Just give the people basics. Make sure they can go to hospital. Make sure there is no physical threat to them when they go to the shop or the market. You know, make sure there is education, and make sure that they're not starving to death. You know, I think they did some research. I forget who it was, and they say that the people only rise up after they miss 7 consecutive meals, right? Just make sure people don't miss a meal, you know, and you're fine. Like, African countries are not like America that ask for democracy and freedom every time. No. Most countries in the world, all they want is basics.
This is one of the things Edward was good in communism area. Why? Because there was food for everyone. No one gave a fuck. Everyone was happy because they had food, and the propaganda about you need to be the bad people. Yeah, you give me food, fuck you need to, let's kill them. You see, everyone was happy. But when things start changing, that there is no food, people start like, wow, you've been here for a long time. That's when he started spending money on insecurity, you know? He started spending money on insecurity because he knew these people are coming for me. They are coming. So, a lot of people, approximately, a lot of people tried. There was a coup attempt in Angola in 1976 on the first president. You know what happened? They killed all of them. You know, people who know people, they got killed because they didn't know who was involved. All they knew is these people studied in Portugal, so it's part of this thing. And who else he knows? Yeah, he got a cousin. Kill him too. You know, a lot of people died in that. After that, people were careful to try that kind of thing. But after 1992, people start saying, nah, this guy must go. And they start spending on him, you know? He starts spending on him, defending himself. The same problem is Gabon, Congo Brazzaville, Congo Kinshasa, Cameroon. The guy in Cameroon been there a long time. The other one was Mugabe. Mugabe, he cared about his people. He cared. Trust me. If Africa had a leader, that was Robert Mugabe. But there was a lot of people who was like, wow, I can take his place and do better. No, these people were after power.
No,
People in Zimbabwe were after power.
No, the problem in Zimbabwe, things got bad when rumors came out that their wife was going to replace Mugabe. At that point, they were like, they were okay with Mugabe. Mugabe was getting too old, but they were still okay with him. But when they heard that the wife is being groomed to replace him, then that's when the military said, no, that's not going to happen.
That's one of the things Eduardo was trying to make people, understand. Like, I think I'm gonna die, and my daughter or son is gonna take it. Everyone was like, really? Even Angolan, because there is a rumor he's from Santo Tomé. He's not proper Angolan. Yeah, so even Angola, and you wanna put your kid, and guess where his kid's from? From Russia, Yeah. He got a kid with a Russian woman.
It's actually from Azerbaijan.
Like, yeah, Azerbaijan, yeah. Okay, so everyone was like, wow.
Okay, so basically what he was saying that the African people mostly only asking for basic stuff. That's exactly 100% right. Because like in Guinea itself, I can testify for, like right now, Doumbouya he's trying to do, I don't know how accurate this is, because somebody told me, but I don't know how accurate it is. He said that right now, if somebody want to start like a farming or something like that,
I was talking.
So basically, when somebody started doing farming, to help them to get money to money to help them to grow their business. I don't know how accurate it is, but I just heard that recently. So basically, as the infrastructure, like the roads, he's doing that. Basically, he's trying to help the people. Because the thing is that in Guinea, mostly the protests when the price of things go up. Whenever the price of food go up or the or gas go up, then definitely you're gonna see the people in the street. That's why it always starts with in Guinea. So whenever there's a price, the price of gas go up, and then you like when they trying to put down the protest, they get killed. They make it even worse. It go like up and up and up to a point now where you don't have the people supporting you anymore. Then it's much easier for you to get coup, because then the military in Guinea, they say, oh yeah, it's the opportunity for me to do the coup, because the people doesn't support you. But if the other way around, if you have the people supporting you, it's very, very difficult to get coup in Guinea. Because they know, they check, they see what the people say.
Jesse, and anyone else for that matter, if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone so the panelist speaking isn't interrupted with all the background noise. Thank you.
Yeah, so in Guinea, mostly what the basic stuff they ask for is having to able to go buy food, like for the market, because most of these people are small. They only making enough money to to buy food for themselves and their family, and then they look for the next day to get money for the family, and then same thing, they just keep going every day. But in America, as you see, people trying to keep up with the bills. It's completely different. You get what I mean? So in America, it's like, okay, I make the money today, but I have to try to pay my rent, my electricity, my all that stuff, my car insurance, everything, all that stuff. By the time you finish, you make the money, but it's gone. But people in Africa, in Guinea, they're more worried about when can I get my next meal. You see, that's two different things. So they don't care about democracy as long as they can able to, knowing that when they wake up the next day, they have enough money to buy the food for their family, and they have enough money to put clothes on the family. They're even more happier. So
if I can ask, I don't mean to go on too much of a tangent here, but it kind of pertains. Like, is it what I noticed and I found a little bit peculiar when I was in Ghana was that there you were really lucky if you were able to find an apartment or something which you could rent that you did not have to pay 6 months in advance. Actually the norm was 1 to 2 years. So for me that sounds like who can afford paying 1 year of rent in advance? But that was
what the hell?
Yeah, right. That was the norm. Like, and it was like 6 months. That was rare to come across anything. So like, yeah. So it's a.
So,
I wonder how was that like in, for example, let's say Guinea, Angola, Kenya. Apparently not.
So basically in Guinea, because the money value is so low, people usually have to pay 2 to 3 months, basically. So every time you have to pay 2 to 3 months. Sometimes people pay monthly to monthly. Sometimes they don't even pay. But usually when, let's say, because my dad have a lot of homes that he rents back home, usually they ask for 2 to 3 months because that money a little bit you can use it to basically like fix something in the house or something like that. Or sometimes even, have money enough for you to, pay for your kids' school back home or because your family, when you hear your family always keep asking you money, but you don't want to send money, you take that money and then distribute it for the rest of the family. As somebody who owns property, that's what I know of. That's what I know. But I don't know how they get their money to pay for that 6 months, to be honest. Sometimes they ask for 6 months or 3 months. But sometimes people get money from family members from outside, pay for everything. Sometimes will be like let's say if I have a wife in Africa, and then they will okay, I like this place, and you rent me this place, and then you pay like a whole 3 months or 6 months for me because you're going to a much luxury location. If you go to a foreign location, it's completely different.
But what you said about this, that you have to pay 2 to 3, is that more like a norm, like a law, or like a lack of regulation, or like how much? Because it pertains. Yeah, because as far as I can tell, when it comes to Ghana, the landlords have way too much power, way too much influence. They have hijacked the whole society, and they're like parasites on every single facet of it. If you're gonna, let me give you an example. If you want to look up, let's say 5 apartments, and you generally have to look up 5 apartments to kind of you have to say you want to have 5 apartments or 10 apartments, or they won't even bother to let you have a tour. Why? Because they take pay for every single tour, every single apartment that you're not really interested. So even if you wanted that one, they will not have you kind of post it for unless you ask for several others. And there's a bunch of those kind of things which, to me, I kind of find it that if I was Ghanaian, that would be my number one sticking point. That would be like these glorified parasites have to be taken down first and foremost. And so with that level of power handed over to the private sector, and this kind of also pertains a little bit, I think, to this thing about you're going to be allowing purchases from investments from abroad, right? Like,
oh my God, that's actually a big issue.
Let me finish this quick. The other problem why people ask for 2 to 3 months is because they want to make sure the person can pay. Because sometimes people will say, "Oh yeah, I want this place," but they don't pay after they're getting this 2 months or 3 months. They don't pay. So that's why they ask for more long term. So if you don't pay anymore after that, then they're like, okay, you know what, it's time for you to go.
I've come to now think that Ghana is shittier than I actually thought it was, because we all have a lot of empathy towards Ghana because of Kwame Nkrumah. But every time I hear about Ghana nowadays, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this country?
Yeah, it was actually quite because I got the impression that Ghana was actually looking really good compared to most West African countries and actually a lot of other countries, generally speaking. And much of that held to be very much true when I arrived. But from the time I made a decision, about a year before I traveled, there had been a lot that had changed. And those changes in particular when it came to commodity prices and all those and various stuff going on in society, these things, and many deteriorating factors like lack of funding and so forth, crime levels and etc. So these things, they were kind of on the rise over the course of the year before I got there. And over the 5 months I stayed there, twice as much happened over that short time as had happened prior. And since I left, it just somewhat kind of stabilized at a new low. But Yeah, it's actually quite because they were like, from all I could see before I went there and when I got there, and by the time now that I have left, it's like they had a lot of things going for them, and then all the collective debts are gathering, and that's one thing. A massive amount of corruption, for example. This may not be so unique to this party, but I would say it's kind of telling that the party, the NPP, that was voted in, replacing the NDC. The prime minister there, Akufo-Addo, which you see often there, he expanded a whole lot of ministerial positions and put his own family member in there. So what we're kind of in many ways seeing, so that expanded a lot of the public expenditure on the just bureaucracy alone, going straight to these families. So that's a consolidation of power within a dynastic rule, because here, obviously, it's not only here in the landlord issue, it pertains generally speaking. There is no such, you don't have public protection in Ghana, not of any significance. So if they can, so economic predation is as common as you can expect. And when you have this kind of consolidation occurring at the top levels, and in the way that it's doing, that is suggestive to me as an outsider as a downward trend, and it will explain kind of a lot of the other downward trajectories, because the level of corruption, they would try to do this scheme here where they were trying to exchange gold for oil. Now this may make sense on the surface, because Ghana is one very gold and oil rich country. But they don't have any refineries when it comes to the oil, so they actually have to import much of the finished product there. This is nothing unique, but they also do not own most of their gold. Actually, I think it was less of the biggest gold company. There was Anglo Gold, or Anglofield, what it's called. There's an American group on that side of the corporate life, and Ghana only has 10% ownership of its biggest mines. It's ridiculously low. So in this scheme here, the government tried to kind of portray with here, some notable critics came up. For example, where is this gold actually coming from? Where is the ETFs actually going through? Because through the way that, this was uncovered that the gold would actually be bought from the UAE and then exchanged it to Nigeria for oil they had imported, for finished product they had imported. Of course, this is not efficient at all, but this had a lot more to do with connections that they came into the party. So, maybe there's more to Ghana than.
The problem here, and people don't seem to actually see what it is, because when you talk about governance, so here's the thing. So if you have a country with 100 million people like Nigeria, that's a complicated nation. Right? If you have a country that has 2 million people like Gabon, that is not a complicated nation. But let's say you have a country of 100 million like Nigeria. What seems to be the problem? So, because if you think about it, it's a question of scaling up. So if there's a country of 10 million that's functional, then there shouldn't be any problem with a country of 100 million. But the problem is this: the more people you have, and then you're very market oriented, so you're very capitalistic, there's going to be a huge problem. You can steal from 10 million people and it can be functional. If you steal from 100 million people and you still have to provide services to 100 million people, there's going to be a problem. So the solution is the one thing all leadership tries to avoid, just because of how nations are made up, which is they don't try to offer people services from funds gotten from the pool, like let's say from services gotten from taxes, right? And a good example of that are some countries, for example, so some European countries, of course, the Scandinavian countries, and you have places like China, right? If you're collecting enough taxes, that money should be available to provide services to almost everybody, because even those people who are not able to provide taxes can be covered by those who are rich enough to provide to pay for the taxes in a certain way. So the main issue is the fact that all these countries are run by an elite of rich people, and they want to keep on making a lot of money at the expense of the poor people. Trust me, we average people are the only people who seem to care about poor people. People who have influence, I promise you, I've been around millionaires. I'm telling you, these people do not give a crap about those things. They have other concerns, and they will not have a problem even one day. How can you have, like Kenya, there was a time, was like in the early 90s. Oh, no, sorry, late 90s. People were dying of hunger. We're seeing videos of people who are so skinny, their ribs are coming out, right? And I asked, and I was young then, but I asked, wait a minute, we have the central bank and it's full of billions of shillings. Why can't we send some of that money to those people? And I said, oh, no. That's not how it works. But listen, I was a kid and that made sense when I was told that, but that is not true. That money is money for the people, and those people are not supposed to starve if your country is actually called a country. How can you call yourself a country if there's somebody lying on the road dying? And it's not just one person, we're talking about thousands of people. So our idea of how a nation is supposed to run is what's wrong, first of all. A nation is supposed to serve the people. All these things about, I don't know, the money is for this, or this is for that. Now, it's just a nation being controlled by the elite and refusing to provide people basic services because the elites want to be staying in cool yachts and drinking cool drinks. And that's all it's about.
Yes. And this elite, guess what? Who controls them? The West. Yeah, these people, I know how these people live in Europe. I know what kind of life they live here, you know.
I have one question regarding that, and this might, because I'm looking at the time here, and it seems that we're actually starting to get to the point where we, on the Federation segment, basically, because we've been talking about how do you counter coups here, and it's very intricate here. Basically, you can try the heavy-handed method, but if you are, for example, a country like Congo and Gabon, you will quickly find yourself cooled by your own elites if you try to rearrange it to the people. You can try, of course, to compensate that with a heavy security guard, but well, I mean, you might then risk an external coup, like, for example, with Niger, which has recently decided that it's going to, no longer be giving this absurdly low price to France, where I think it was 80 cents on the kilo. And now the market price is closer to $200. And so, of course, now this, I would imagine, will give a lot of popular support, which the government seems to be having. But there are also a couple of factors that are coming into play. One, while this might even be something that the Niger elite might be not having too much of an issue with, the French, they are certainly going to have an issue because now they are heavily reliant on the uranium coming from Niger. So Niger may be slated for. Well, they may still be slated for a federation with because here becomes the question: how do you prevent becoming coup? Right? Well, you may be able to somehow overcome many of the internal struggles that they would risk you getting coup. So, in the case of Gabon and Cameroon, no, not so likely. They are likely to actually have to either just be coup somehow internally, or they will have to be and propped up externally, right? Well, this comes a little bit with Niger because I do get the impression.
Hold on. There's one thing. If you wanna organize a coup in Africa, please make sure you succeed. Please.
Well,
make sure you succeed.
So this is a thing we discussed.
If you fail, you're done.
So we actually
your family is done.
We discussed that in the previous recording when it came to Niger, because what are they actually, what are they of all the coup governments here? What is Niger? And Niger kind of stood out as the government that kind of were very, very poised for a coup. It was very right, but they didn't really have a vision for what to do with it otherwise. They were kind of winging it. The winging coup, I think, is what we called it. And we have mentioned this thing about being externally propped up, and Niger has, of course, been suspected of being, the coup there being influenced by Russia. And this may or may not be the case. It seems to be, on the lower levels, or like not so. It's more the diplomatic support, right? But what would you say, like here, for Niger has already been given? I'm not sure if they were actually included in the security alliance, the military alliance with Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Mali. But they have already been given decrees of military support, and they have been allowed to be stationed troops at the border and intervene if necessary. So in effect, they kind of seem to,
that alliance is actually between Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. Guinea is not included.
Guinea still is in neutral. Guinea still is in between. So basically, Guinea
but
support them, but
they need the Guinea. You know why? Because this country, they are landlocked. They need Guinea.
Yeah,
they really do.
Yeah.
Alpha, you better tell Dumbuya that he needs to get into that because let me tell you something. If they think they can play a balancing game, they are wrong. You saw what Gaddafi did. Gaddafi was playing a balanced game between the Russians and the West, and the Russians were, well, you want to ban, go ban then. And guess what happened to him? You have to choose a side. Bashar al-Assad chose a side very quickly, and he was saved. At this time, you don't need to balance the West. If they're gonna kill you, they will kill you anyways. So
and like Vosh was saying, the incentive for, because here's the thing: if Guinea does not join the Federation, they run the very real risk of being couped by the Federation themselves, and of course vice versa if they don't. But if they do join the Federation, I'm not sure, will that actually, in your opinion, protect against a coup? Like, how many echelons do one have to go before a Federation is, say, coup immune, so to speak?
This is the fact. Guinea, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, right? They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. For them to be secure is for that alliance and for that federation. That is one. And the fact is, it's a good thing for Africa in general. When you go to Europe, you can live from one country to another country. You use your car, and you are not questioned at the borders. The same thing with North America, with USA and Canada. It's only down here with what's it called? That they are afraid of drugs, cartel, and the rest. But up USA, they drive freely with Canada. The same thing happened in Europe. They drive freely. Now, why can't a Nigerian leave Nigeria, for example, to Niger without being asked questions on the border, say you are breaking out of a prison? This is the fact. The French are good in uniting people. One thing the French colonists learned is the word French, that unity. They can easily come together despite their speaking a foreign language. The French taught them that, to unite them. That was the weakness and that was the strength of France. Now, coming back to the so-called alliance. Now it's alliance. The next thing would be a federation. And if this South African guy comes in power, I swear he's going to join them. And I won't lie to you, if those guys make an alliance, their economy will be the strongest in Africa. Their economy will be the strongest in Africa, and at the same time, their security will be the strongest in Africa. They will be the fastest growing, both infrastructure and everything. Russia is giving them a free hand on that. Russia is using them. We use them to develop, to grow. Other African countries, example.
Just sorry to interrupt you. And you mentioned Julius Malema.
No.
If Julius Malema get elected in South Africa,
yes,
you know the south of Africa is safe. They're gonna get rid of President of Botswana. because every country in the south
And that's
don't
stupid
want.
military base.
Yes,
Of course,
every country is
they will.
against that military base there.
Okay, okay. Can I just say something quick? Because the thing is about Guinea, they don't have no Western any military in Guinea. They don't let no
That's interesting.
person put the military in the country because they like the independence so much. They want to send the soldiers to their country and train them there and they come back. That's what Guinea do. So, like I know the alliance that the Guinea trying to like Burkina Faso and other things. I am 100% want Guinea to join the Federation, to be honest with you. But the problem is that if right now there's a threat between ECOWAS and the Federation going to whatever with them Niger going war, it will be very, very difficult for Guinea to defend because they have border with Senegal. You have to understand Senegal have military very, very, very powerful because Guinea. Oh man, give me a second.
You know,
Can you hear me?
you
So let me just finish what I'm saying. So you have to understand that Guinea cannot defeat Senegal himself. And then now the border with Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea-Bissau. So it will be really, really difficult in order for them to be able to fight. So if now the other country have to send the resources to back Guinea, it's not really very beneficial for them. So it's good for them to stay neutral right now. That way they don't have the right roadway to attack Mali and other places, so they can focus on one area side. You understand? That's what I see, or based on my understanding, based on what I can say. That's what I see. You get what I mean? But I definitely 100% want Guinea to join the Federation if they can do it, because that means Guinea can they can use Guinea we can use Guinea port because Guinea building a second port to able to feed all this to able to export or import from that area. Because Guinea
Jesse, you please mute. Also, I wanted to just show something on the screen here. Jesse, please mute because you have a lot of like disturbance sound so when you're not speaking, mute your microphone, please. Thank you. I wanted to show because you were saying something about like this kind of harkens back to what Vosh was saying, where you have Mali. If you look on the African continent, you have Mali, and you have Niger and Burkina Faso. They're all landlocked, and the only opening here of the neutral one, so to speak, would be Guinea or possibly Algeria, maybe. But Guinea is the natural ally, so to speak, and it's also the one. That's why it's kind of crucial for Guinea to make a choice, as alluded to. But it's not the only way for, let's say, ECOWAS and their foreign supporters to be getting inroads. So, for example, the Americans have a base here in Ghana, in Accra, in their only international airport here. And this airport has, I think it's recently gotten its third terminal, but its first terminal, and this is the only civilian international airport in the country. The first terminal is actually entirely a U.S. base. It means the U.S. can operate freely there. There are personnel, military personnel in particular. And it's generally assumed that the purpose of it is to be shifting personnel mostly and some equipment in order to the interior. And that would pertain then to Burkina Faso, which is right the northern country, the northern neighbor of Ghana. Yeah. So the Federation, it will be, just like you pointed out there with Guinea, like it has a very, if it were to be getting in a shuffle with the ECOWAS, it cannot manage Senegal alone. That's the northwestern border, and then it also has Guinea-Bissau, which may not be powerful, but this is a compromise.
So basically, like my point was, it's like that in order for them to be able to help Nigeria and Ghana, they have to go all the way around. You get what I mean? That's the point. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to say. Because if they have to go directly, then they can just drive the car through, because somebody from Senegal can drive the car directly to Guinea. Same thing with Guinea-Bissau, all the other ones. But if they have to go all the way around, they either have to take airplane to get there or have to drive all the way around to get to the other side to help them. That's my point.
We've been talking for over an hour. There is a country we never mentioned, and it's very important in that area. Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
Ivory Coast. You know, check one thing. You know this country that been leaking France bunghole? Check Cameroon, Gabon, and Ivory Coast. Check this president's wife. Check their wife.
They're all French. The whites
Yeah,
are
why?
very-
You see, check their wife, and you're gonna see.
The wife of the guy from Cameroon had pictures with Paris Hilton and all that. Imagine your wife is parading around in all bleached up, she looks like a white sheet, and then she's there parading with, and then you think you're not gonna get couped, but something I wanted to actually mention was so the question Coping had initially.
Don't have a white wife if you don't want to get couped. I'll take that one up for sure.
You know that's a Dubuya.
You know, listen. I'm not against interracial relationship. I'm not at all. I'm not against it. But come on, you are leader of a country. Make sure your wife at least a bit dark. You know, they're French, white French. This country they go white French.
I would say the
problem, African problem. France is the African problem. And
well, I would say it is a non-issue in essence because it really boils down to how does the leadership. Like if let's say the leadership does it well, nobody's gonna care, right? Maybe even think like, hey, good for you, right? But if it's if you're doing shitty, right? It doesn't really matter how your wife looks because you're a shit person. Like,
You know, the thing is, these people, you know, people in this country, they suffer. They're begging for food. They're begging for food. And you see the first lady, who is an African, is taking picture with a celebrity who famous because made a fucking sex tape. You see? What kind of example is that?
And the thing about it is that people think so. That whole deal with the first wife, and I'm not a chauvinist or whatever, but the whole deal with the first lady or whatever, you have to manage it well. Because what happens is most of these leaders, their wives or even their daughters or their sons and whatever, they just become too prominent. They start sending messages on the internet. The public is suffering. It's very easy for them to look at the president and hate the president just because of the behavior of their own family, you know. So, like the first lady of Kenya, the previous one, the wife of Uhuru Kenyatta, she did a very good job. She was smart enough to know how to manage it. So she was always dealing with women's groups and dealing with things to do with farming. You see her with farmers. You'd see her like she kept a low key like that, you know. But so one of the ways, I know that was the initial question. So how to reduce the possibilities of coups? One is, of course, and obviously, do your job as a government. Be functional. You know, at least direct some of that money towards helping people. Secondly, because we know that there's some coups that we may be in favor of, and then there are coups which we're not in favor of at all. Like the what do you call them? The color revolutions. I'm 100% against them because I know they're a project of somebody who hates those countries. Now, and you have to protect yourself against those. One of the best ways to protect you against those is do what Eritrea did. You kick off all the NGOs. It is not the job of an NGO to help the people. It's the job of the government to actually resolve the issues. NGOs are CIA projects.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. Let me say something else too. You also have to have good public relations. That means even if you're doing a good job, you have to inform your public that you're doing a good job. You can't expect the public to just figure out that, oh, this man has done this for hospitals. No. You have to make sure that people know every single time you're doing a good job. You have to sell yourself as a government to the people. And then lastly, when you talk about the elite has to be terrified. One of the reasons why China is able to accumulate all this money to do all these projects within their own country is because the elite of China is terrified of the government. How do I know that? Because since 2012, the Chinese has executed 18 billionaires. There's no other country that has executed a single billionaire. That is to keep them in check. It's not like in America where the billionaires choose who is going to be on the cabinet of the president. That's true. Jamie Dimon, the one for Citigroup, chose the whole cabinet for Barack Obama. And that's not even a conspiracy theory. The letter was leaked. So in China, they don't do that.
Yeah.
You have to follow the line of the government. You have to follow what they call common prosperity. The common prosperity means we all grow together. So even if you're a billionaire, it is your duty to grow together with the rest of the country. You have a lot of money.
I have to jump in there because you pointed out something that I think is extremely poignant here. Let's say we use this Sahel Federation, for lack of a better name, as an example, right? Because we already kind of gone through like many of the things that would cause you to get couped, be it internally from your elites and so forth. China has somehow managed to get on top of that, and there's a lot of reasons for it. It's its size, it's its history, there's a lot of reasons for it. But what it has essentially managed to do is to entrench political state control above the state authority above financial authority. For while this tends to be a little bit more fluid to a varying degree, now Europe is starting to increasingly look more and more like the United States, and the United States more and more like, well, Africa, African countries that are slated for a coup. So I'm not sure if that's that's telling maybe for another continent that might be experiencing coups, but well, that's not a here nor there. The thing I wanted to ask in that context though is, how do you, because I know there's been some talks about getting nuclear plants into the Sahel region so they can actually use their own uranium and power their own countries and maybe start industrializing. And this is an enormous undertaking, like for any country. Like just look at China and the Soviet Union. These are kind of exceptions to the norm, what happened to most countries. And then you have small little client states with the unusual positioning, right? But generally speaking, you will not have like this kind of like what would it take for a country like Africa that has already all the natural resources? It has, generally speaking, across the continent, a very young population. And so it has kind of, with industrialization, it's kind of ripe for entering that process. So how do you enter that process with a heavy-handed method involved against corruption without being called a communist? If you're helped by China, and you're helped by China and Russia, both considered as communists, right? Like many people would kind of say we are already in a Cold War 2.0, right? And you know, it's kind of hard not to see like the rhymes and echoes of earlier times and previous decades kind of coming back again. And so in this round, this Cold War round, let's call it like that, and maybe we should perhaps consider this one our wrapping up part as we're starting to hit the clock here. What would it take for, let's say, the Sahel Federation to industrialize and become one of the powerhouses because I'm saying the Sahel Federation because they are the recently couped, the recently risen, right? So what would it take for them to? They have some external support. They have a lot of things going for them that, you know, sure, this will probably take quite a lot of time. But yes, please.
So basically, just to start, I'm answer first based on the NGO, what he was saying to kick out the NGO. I'm an NGO myself. I've been an NGO since 2015. So there's a process they usually do. Because I know definitely there is a lot of corruption. There's a lot of NGOs that definitely they work for the CIA. That's 100%. There's a lot of NGOs that are very, very corrupt. Because I remember when I was first time in 2016, when I was supposed to go to South Korea, I was speaking to someone who's been at the UN for years. And then we was raising money to get, like as a young people, we was raising money to get a flight to go to Korea. And then she was talking about a flight that cost $20,000. And me and my other friend, we look at each other like, why would you need a flight that costs $20,000? You're going for something that relates to, education, people, and other stuff. You understand? So we're saying this type of people that have been there for a very long time, there are type of those that need to be rid of, that's for sure. And there's a process. Also, usually what the NGO that associate with the United Nations Department of Global Communication, because I work with them many times and I advise them many times, it's like there's a process that you get, like there's a report they have to submit to show that they're doing exactly what they says. That's what all the government need to do. If they see that this NGO said they're doing this, but they're doing separately different, they can also show like all the receipt that the money that they spend and who are the funders. Because that mostly the UN asks who's funding you, because that's why sometimes even if it's like money coming through, you have to be declared, okay, this money came from this person, from this group. If it's a group that does not work with your government, you should say, no, definitely decline your permit or your work team so you to get out of the country. Because that's how it get funded. Because I also used to be a manager of the budget committee for young people that I used to work with. I know there's a lot of money, trust me. There's people that wanted to give you money just to have the logo on it. I've seen it a lot of times, but because we have to go through like a process, like I have to give it to whoever on top of me to check if this company, if they are exactly what they say, what they do, or if they do something that exactly goes with the NGO goals or all that stuff. So no, definitely there's some corruption, but there are some good ones too.
No, yes, they are good NGOs. The NGOs I'm talking about, are all what I call permanent NGOs. You know, like in Ethiopia had what you call permanent NGOs. They are there. They never solve the problem. The problem keeps getting worse. And then when they kick them out of Eritrea had a percentage of AIDS as big as Mississippi. The moment they kicked them out, for some reason, the amount of AIDS went down to that of Washington, D.C. The point I'm trying to make is NGOs are important. I have no problem with that. But they should never, ever be prominent in a country that they are considered a part of the economy, that apparently we need an NGO to get water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would kind of specify that to say it's neat to have an NGO, an external NGO, as an auxiliary, because it can provide a lot of perks and benefits, maybe like not just mere liquidity in form of money and stuff, but also connections and access and maybe whatever it have you. But it cannot be a substitute for the fundamental government functions. It cannot be like, oh no, that society is collapsing, so we need now this foreign NGO, this charity group, which I mean, okay, fine, maybe better than people starving to death, but it also is probably part of the problem perpetuating it. And I think this is going back to the Sahel Federation. Would you guys say that they like, for example, they should take a more nuanced approach when it comes to NGOs compared to Eritrea, or they should maybe we'll just get out. We're just going to do it like Eritrea style.
So I would say sometimes it's like give them like a process. You have to, because it's something that can be a process. If you complete the process, and then every 6 months or every year, you have to go through the process again to make sure they are what they say they're doing. Because let's say what happened in Libya right now, right? Because I know friends that usually just go to any what they call it, anytime there's a earthquake or any disaster, something like that, they have a special bag. They just get up and go right away. Because sometimes there's people that do that. Those are the type of people you need that do exactly what they say. But there are some NGOs that raise money for this. We need to build schools from this country, but they never completely taken years. That's the type of NGO you need to kick out, to be honest with you. So there are those type of people. There are people that, okay, I wanted to see, like the government itself need to go see what they say they're doing. If they're not getting successful in the next 2 years, 3 years, proving whatever they say they're doing, then they are the corrupt ones. Yeah, that's all. And to go for the federation wise, as you're saying, this is what I would suggest if they're gonna do a federation. Let's start now. Don't wait anymore. Like having like what they call it, going back as we was already. They only did the hard work. It's removing some of these leaders that decided that wanted to stay there forever. Because they only changed the constitution, like in Guinea, for example. They changed the constitution. He wanted to run for third term. He was already run for third term. He already win. You think if he went for third term, he's going to stop fifth term? Of course, he's going to die.
Well, I have to interject with a relevant question. When you say they have to kind of go for the federation as soon as possible, so that kind of implies to me that you skip the whole process of referendum, for example. That's out of the question, right?
Definitely can do the referendum.
I see immediately a problem with that, because if you skip the referendum part, how can you say that this may not be an intricate ploy from an external power to actually just subjugate the whole of the Sahel in one political entity, now reconstructed and rebranded as a liberatory entity, but actually still under external control?
So you think that some other government that against it not going to spend too much money to do election or to go against it? I don't think definitely there will be some people funding money to go against it. I definitely know that they're gonna do it. So that's why sometimes it's good to do it, to be honest, but make sure you have a way to do it properly. Because
you don't do the referendum, and then this can easily be exploited and abused, or you have the referendum, which can also be easily exploited and abused. So, yeah, Makiadi, please.
I don't think there needs to be a referendum. These governments already did a coup. These governments already did a coup. There's no point for a referendum, basically because those governments know exactly what they want. And if you ask the people on the ground, I don't think there's any question that is, because they know it's a matter of their own security. They know it's a matter of their own security than anything else. So I don't think there should be a referendum. Personally, that is.
Yes, you just to be clear. Just one moment. Hey, 1 moment. I just want to be understood, Makiadi. What you're basically saying, they should not be worried about skipping the referendum. They should just go ahead and federate and skip the referendum's part. That's what you said. They should be concerned about the repercussions of it. They should actually do it now. I mean, there isn't really. If anybody wants to blame them for doing something that for somebody saying, maybe it's an external force that's doing it, they can deal with that on a PR level. They like, this is the time. If they don't do it right now, the forces who are against such a move will have time to act. Right now, everybody's confused. The West doesn't know whether they need to bomb Nigeria or they need to let it be. That confusion is what they need to take advantage of and just move on and do everything they need to do. Well, Tinubu is trying to wake up.
Trust me. These people, I'm not gonna say the Old West wants to get involved on that Niger business. I think it's just France, because if the United States wanted to, yes, the business would be done. A weak France make United States strong.
It's Jesse has actually been waiting on his turn. So if Jesse, please go ahead. Oh no.
See, the West have nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Absolutely nothing. So you asked a question concerning the new government in Sahel. You understand? The new government in Sahel, our advice on how they should lead or whatever. If it is left for me, military regime is different from democracy. Military regime is different from the normal rule of government that you guys know. The leaders can just sit. If the Senate is fortunate enough, the army will send what they want to do to the Senate for the Senate to approve it. And if the Senate is not fortunate enough, the army will just take decisions. Now, if whatever works for the people, for you not to be cooped, I wanted asking this question generally, but I say let me just cut it off. See, what determines the price of commodity is one thing: transportation, fuel. If fuel is cheap, the price of everything will go down. Just fuel. You understand? Now, you being a leader or you being the ruler or whatever gives people peace, give them food on the table, keep the youth busy, be it in sport, entertainment, or whatever, and keep the elderly at peace for them to live long. If like rule for 100 years, this is not the time of Gaddafi where the West used media to like do whatever they wanted to do. And Gaddafi refused to choose a side. You understand? He had the option, either you go to the West or you go to the East. So sorry, you go to the East. And he was dancing at the center and he got caught. Now those guys have already picked their side. If you are to say or to advise them, just stick to your plan, develop the so-called alliance you made, make it, develop, teach other African countries how it feels to be free. And I believe South Africa will join. And once South Africa join them later in the future, Nigeria is just neighboring doors. The way the UK, Europe comes together to like do their stuff. This African Federation is perfect. It's very, very perfect. There'll be no borders. I just pray they should succeed. I just pray they should progress. And I just pray that they should face less obstacles. And then coming together, they will be stronger. Now, if you attack one country, you attack all of them. Even Nigeria will not dare attack. Even Nigeria will not even dare. ECOWAS will not dare. Nobody will dare. And once they are economically free, you will see development. And I believe they want to set that standard where other African countries will see and follow suit. And once it works, you see everybody going. So as for me, I don't care whether it is democracy or military regime. As far as I have food on my table, I can sleep at night in peace, and I can go wherever I want to go, do business I want to do. I don't care if it is one family that is ruling for 100 years. I don't care. I need peace, security. I need food on the table. I want to live old and see my children grow. Very, very simple. I'm not asking of much. Because you don't have job opportunities. That's all.
Well said, Jeff. Well said.
I don't care whether it's or what China do. I don't care.
So basically, the reason why I say right now is the right time for them to do that. Well, America is back off. America is not doing nothing. If you check on all of them, America is laid off. They don't say nothing. They don't do nothing. To be honest, and also the longer it takes, the more coups gonna be happening against those people, those leaders themselves. Now it will be somebody with a bad intention. They don't have as good intention as the other ones. For sure, like in Guinea, if he doesn't be careful, he's gonna be good. As you see in Burkina Faso, there's already attempt on him. You understand? Right now, I think is the right time to do it. There's no waiting, no any crappy stuff, anything like that. I believe right now is the right time to do it. Because the reason why America is laid back, because they don't want all this country to fall back in Russian hands and China hands. You understand? So that's why they're trying to play neutral between them and France. So they're like, okay, you know what? This is going on. Okay, we talk to France in the back end. We don't discuss in public. So whatever we say, whatever happening, okay, you can do yours. It's in Africa, things. Do what you want to do right now. So.
People don't realize also that Ukraine is keeping America very busy, like very busy. Like all their political capital is focused on Ukraine, like you'd never believe. Like they have literally, like in DC, they literally have huge rooms full of people. All they're doing is focusing on freaking Ukraine. They're doing almost what DPA does. They're looking at the map, and figuring out what's going on. So this is the right time for almost any country that wants to do anything to do it now. And I'm not only talking about coups. If you want to take advantage and start using your strategic resources for the good of your own people, like you have uranium. Why is a Canadian company mining uranium and taking the profits? No, that should go to should go to the budget of the country, because that's what most the countries that are doing well in terms of helping people, that's what they're doing. So this is the time, because once this Ukrainian war is over, then the West now can start focusing on other countries. And so this is the best time to do that.
You can see what Saudi Arabia is doing right now. Saudi Arabia is smart. Right now, the pivoting between Russia and China. They're getting together, whatever they're trying to build, like the Norm or whatever the city they're trying to build, they're working with China because they know U.S. is focusing on something else. They know that's why they're doing it. They're using that time to do it because that's exactly what China did too. When America was focusing about Russia and Afghanistan, China was building up. But now it's switching out literally. Now U.S. trying to focus now, switch back to focusing on China. But it's too late because China is already like in Guinea right now. If they say right now nobody should buy anything coming from China, Guinea will collapse. I'm telling you right now. Even though we have all the raw material coming from Guinea, but Guinea will collapse because they buy all the stuff from China. And mostly. So I'm sure that same thing with Leon, Liberia, and all the other countries, because they go to Guinea to buy all the stuff from us. Even though they have what they call it, they have port, they have all that stuff. But most of the people that go to Guinea to buy stuff directly go to come from those countries. And Mali too, they come to Guinea to buy stuff. So, like I'm just saying, China is like literally is everywhere right now. So it's the right time, I believe, to do it. And also the other thing is that they need to do is those contract, like those resources contract. I looked at them. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe in Guinea itself. Most of the contract is like 85% of the contract is owned by outside countries. And how does the country benefit from 15% out of your resources when you are like the top two or number two, like having exporting of that raw material in the world? And after corruption, after the government already steals some money, by the time you go below that 15% you already get it, it's like basically there's nothing left to build the roads or anything else. So you have to ask for money outside for investors to do their stuff. So that's the problem. So those contracts need to be corrected again, to be honest. And also whoever taking those resources, they need to build a refinery in Guinea, because that's what Doumbouya trying to do. But I'm pretty much, because of he trying to do that, they're gonna coup him, because he demanded something really big. You have to do like he already told the Russian company and all the other companies, he give them, I think, till 2024. If you don't build a refinery, you're not gonna have to export whatever extra thing you wanted to export in Guinea. He give them that mandate. So I don't know how that's going on right now. But I believe that he also needs to look at those contracts and change them, because the country needs to keep at least 51% or 60% or 70%, because that's why Saudi Arabia have a lot of money. If you see Saudi Arabia and UAE have so much money to spend in everywhere, it's because they have most of the majority of the resources. They see it as a security. They don't see it as, okay, no, because this is the resources. They see it as a security, because whoever controls your resources, you following them. You don't have nothing to say. That's the problem.
Yes, I would have to kind of chime in here because that thing about nationalizing your strategic assets is what this segment was basically going to segue us over. I think those of you in the audience who kind of like the coup talk and would like to hear us talk a little bit about how do you financially and industrialize yourself, you get become economically independent and maintain your strategic assets. Well, we must first take a few takeaways from this one. That's what I've picked up is one, you should have popular support and make sure that you have a proper reallocation of resources to prevent popular resistance. Two, make sure you can do that without conflicting with the already established elite and the military who control that. And then once you have done that, you kind of still have to maintain you have to improve on the things, you have to build on the infrastructure, otherwise people are going to see the fraud that you are. But in the process of doing so, you have to then make a choice. How do you prevent corruption? How do you make that happen without too many? Well, as Alpha just said here, you try to industrialize, you are already going to be getting there. That's a target right there. You try to industrialize, that's why all these countries around here, they've been couped in many different ways, but they have also had some coups of the kind that we see here in the Sahel. But the Sahel is different, because another thing that I picked up when it comes to how do you not get coup? Well, if you have popular support and all these kind of things, and especially if you have recently couped yourself away from the West, well, you have to do that when there's a war in Eastern Europe, and the Americans are very busy with that. And then you must ensure that you are not an enemy of the one who ensures your manufacturing level. Because if you're an enemy of China, then it doesn't matter how much resources you have. You're never going to be able to industrialize. Whether they help you or not, it's a matter of you actually just being on terms with them. And then at the same time, you must be able to then industrialize without getting couped. I'm not really sure how we can address that one. I think this one is a bigger federation topic, really, to actually really truly deal with it. So I think we're going to leave that one for the next one, and basically just do a round of closing here, as we have, I think we have rounded over 2 hours soon. So Vosh, why don't you bring some closing statements to this recording?
Yeah. Wow, what a panel. What a discussion. You guys really, really rock. I love it. Every single moment. Every fucking single moment. I just wish African leader could watch that shit and see. One thing for sure. You don't want trouble with your people? Feed them. Make sure they go to school. Make sure there is medicine for them when they are sick. If you put all these 3 things, no one will care if they don't have an iPhone or Samsung mobile. This is no life. You can't get your belly full with a fucking iPhone. The money for iPhone, buy food. I remember growing up, I remember growing up. I still know that I live in a building with 120 apartments. 120 apartments. I know everyone. I knew everyone. I knew everyone. And if I wanted something, if I see they are eating bread with butter and my bread there's no butter, I just knock on their door, ask if they got butter for me. They would give me straight away, But this kind of thing, they start changing because governments start to get greedy. More money for them and less for the people. If you give food to your people, they won't care. No one cares about going to Europe for a better life. They're starting going to Europe when these people start knocking on your door and say, wow, your country is so rich. What are you doing here? Why? In my country, we do this and that. Everyone was like, wow, like Rambo movie? Yeah, let's go. This is why the propaganda of Hollywood propaganda is the reason everyone is in the West. Okay. Everyone is following that shit because of the Hollywood propaganda. And when you get here, it's not like that. Not at all. You get, what the fuck did I do? Once you're in, you start just, okay, I'm here, I'm going to just survive. Trust me, there's better life in Africa, but now it's too late. I've been here for too long now. I'm just going to, survive.
I'm going to stop your closing there, and with never say never. For when I kind of got a bunch of those eye-openers myself when I went to Ghana, and that, yes, sure, I did see a lot of abject poverty, and there was, you had to be careful with certain times and wherever you were and what have you. But I did, of course, also see many more nuances to it, and to me, it struck me as like an inherently good place to live in many, many ways. If only just because the people had such a mentality and like such a chill and very tolerant, welcoming vibe. It was like, it's just that by itself. And so I kind of, I take that back, and I miss Ghana. Like, I definitely heading back there. Like, no matter how crap things get down there, I'm still gonna, because I miss the place. And so, maybe we're going to be seeing a return of Vosh back to Angola and an emigration of coping Norwegian down to Ghana or something. But yeah, I'm not going to take closing time. Makiadi, please say your closing statement.
I'm actually going to, and by the way, yeah, awesome panel, awesome discussion. I'm going to close with what I was talking about a few minutes ago, which was, again, state cooperation. And I'm going to leave you with just a few figures, which is, so Rosatom, Rosneft, and Rostec, those are 3 Russian state corporations. They all made as much money as Walmart, which is $500 billion. Difference is, that $500 billion did not go to the Walmart family. It went to the Russian state budget, or it went to the Russian funds. It belongs to the Russian people. That's a good example of what I'm talking about, that you can actually use your own resources to basically enrich your people. And so some people say, state corporations are corrupt. That's a separate problem. That can be taken care of in a separate way, But that's one of the ways of helping the people, is by increasing the money that you can use to actually help your people. And that's the difference between most countries, because nobody wants to go. A lot of countries don't want to go that direction. Presidents are afraid of getting assassinated. Presidents are afraid of getting couped, color revolutions and whatnot. But literally, there's no other way, because you need money. You may be well-wishing, you may be wanting to help your people, but if you don't have money, then there's nothing you can do about it. People are not going to eat air. Like, you need concrete projects. You need to bring your country up to par. You need people to be connected. You need there are a lot of needs, and as time goes by, those needs become more expensive, because now you have to get most of those needs from outside the country. But that's basically all I wanted to say. We spoke about everything important. It's very hard to summarize it eventually, but yeah.
Well, I'm going to concretize something important that you said there in your closing that I think we definitely need to be bringing up later. And because it is a very interesting dilemma, right? But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with one stroke there. You can talk about state corporations being corrupt and so forth, but that is actually a different problem. And I think, we have alluded to Russia as a previous Soviet Union being involved in China, right? So there is something to be said about having state authority over financial authority, because otherwise you will have a problem reallocating the risk. They're going to be brought out to a different, consolidated in a different sphere, right? So I think that was really well said, Makiadi, and I really hope to have us back on this topic, because it does pertain to the coup thing. How do you then industrialize without being called a communist? Right? I'm pretty sure that's going to pertain. Pretty sure. So thank you, Makiadi. Alpha, your closing statement, please.
I don't trust Makiadi. He's a communist.
No, I'm just selfish, and I believe that resources should belong to the people. If you have oil under your soil, it doesn't belong to the person who owns the land. That's a resource that belongs to the whole country.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
if you call that communism, good.
then they should so call Saudi Arabia communism, because that's what they do basically. Because they built it. What they did was they built a company that called Saudi Aramco that deal with all the resources. So because it's well managed, they're able to get the money. They're able to do everything for the. I don't know how well the people is, but still it's better than what many nations in Africa do, because they have a small resources. But if you calculate that same thing happens United Arab Emirates. Because if you're looking for money in the UN, those are the top 2 countries you go to, and Qatar. Because I know as the budget community who raise funding for many times, if you want to go look for money, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, if you want to go get money, those are the ones that you usually go to right away. And they will usually fund you because they're looking for a way to people see how well they're doing for the country and supporting people. So that's just a trick. I just wanted to let people know. But don't go ask them money. They're going to ask for more stuff. So my closing is that thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And hopefully you subscribe and you like, to be honest. And also, if you want to start my YouTube, but the thing is, I've not had enough time, so as you know, in America, when you started working here, the bills is waiting for you back door, waiting for you. By the time you get out from work, so more and more, you have to work more to pay off more bills. So, like in Africa, I believe if they do the federation right now, it'd be wonderful for them to do it right now. To be honest, I hope that they do it and they have to fix the poverty and security, infrastructure, and education, and what they call it, and the proper. They have to what they call it. Oh man, I'm forgetting this. They have to really support the young people to become entrepreneurs or something. You get what I mean? Because I see a lot of people risking their life trying to come to America. I'm telling you, it's not what people think it is. Because if Trump comes, he's gonna kick everybody out again. Because I know he did it before. So just
it's a trap.
When he comes, he's gonna kick everybody out again. You understand? But people like they say American dreams. What I see as American dreams, it's possible, but after 10,000 people suffer, one person make it. So in Africa, out of that 10,000, maybe 5,000, maybe 7,000 people are at least able to pay the food and able to do stuff. They'll be happy with that than having to still here. Even if you're a multimillionaire here, I used to live in Manhattan, but I have to move. But even if you're a multimillionaire, you look poor in Manhattan. Definitely, I'm telling you. I've been here for many years. I know it is. You're a multimillionaire. You go to any country in the world, you will live your life like a king. But in Manhattan, you live like a third world country person. So
the American dream is good until you wake up.
Exactly. Even if you have a lot of money, you still pay a lot of taxes and everything else. You have to do all that crap.
Never, ever wake up when you live in the American dream.
I think you esteemed gentlemen here, who I'm happy to be thanking so much for having joined me and accepted my invite for this recording. I kind of joked around, how do you avoid being called a communist? Well, I think actually Alpha alluded really well to that. Saudi Arabia, is that a communist nation? Well, but they have nationalized their strategic assets. Norway, well, yeah, one likes to joke that we're also a communist country, but we actually have a lot of similarities economically speaking, and all the terms that we've been talking about. Norway and Saudi Arabia is actually very similar. And so I think, when you're watching, for example, conversations like these, which I don't really care about the ideology or the virtue signaling about the democracy and whatever, it's a matter of what works, then you would, whether you agree or disagree, that actually kind of be totally irrelevant, because you are at least been given the option to be seen through the propaganda, which is very dogmatic, right? It doesn't have any correlation, obviously. We have already debunked it here, single-handedly in the last minutes of the whole panel, while we had a whole lot more interesting going on. That being said, to those of you who have been watching, we really appreciate that you did. If you want to say something you have something we missed, or there's something that you would like us to add on for our next conversation or so forth, please leave it in the comments. If there's something you thought was particularly poignant, so good that you think it was like, this is the shorts that should be clipped out of this whole recording to be shared with others, please tell us too. And Arthur, I see you want to be talking, so before I do my final shtick here.
Okay, so basically, if you don't want to be called like a communist, you want to be friends with America, then you can do whatever you want. You're not going to be called communist. That's the trick.
That's a trap.
You see, debunking just curls on the string here.
If IMF knock on your door, say fuck off.
No, just be friends with America. You can make all your resources by yourself, and you can do whatever you want. No, you're gonna be fine. Nobody's gonna call it communist because it's a propaganda. You can
even cut up a journalist with a bone saw and you're still okay.
Come on,
Okay, so here we have done a whole bunch of debunking on these closing statements here, like pearls on a string. And here's one thing for Gabon and Cameroon, right? It would be ditch the French, because Vosh has already pointed out that if you're a friend of the French, you're going to get couped. That's a one way to avoid getting couped is not being a friend of the French.
By the way, the things that happen in Mali, Burkina Faso, and what's the other one? Niger. This is not just the people, These people, they sit down, and they talk about it. Look how they managed to, the countries. They are all neighbors. There was no coup in Mali, was there?
Yeah, it was two coups, were not?
There wasn't.
Did they have a double sequence coup as well?
And the other
I can't
country,
remember, but this current president is from a coup. What's his name? Goita.
Yeah.
He's the product of a coup.
Okay, gentlemen. I could personally go on forever, but
I know.
So thank you again, everyone, and also unfortunately, Jesse, yet again, he dropped out because of the connection. But thank him from Jesse from Syria.
Thanks, Jesse.
He gave a nice speech,
Yeah, right. So
Jesse always, is the African name.
Well, he is a Nigerian, so he of course has his wordings about what happens in West Africa. So no doubt about it. Anyways, to those of you who have not subscribed to DPA Open Mic yet, well, go ahead. This is a perfect opportunity for you to do so, and also check out the video itineraries of other recordings of where all of us actually have in some of the videos, and then there are other speakers from the open mic where all of us actually came through, right? You have to go to the open mic when it streams on the weekends, usually on Saturdays. And then when you get on there and you converse with us, you show your face, we know you're not full of shit, you might be full of shit, but you sincerely believe it and willing to stand for it. Cool. We are accepting of whoever might be disagreeing with us and so forth. But once you are, with us and talking with us, then you can seek out your own little groups. Like, for example, that's what we did here. We are basically just, mutually interested. I like to be sponsoring recordings because I learn very much from them. And I just happen to be so fortunate that I can just reach out to people from all over the world here who have generally speaking, somewhat similar interests as I do. They might have different views and perspectives, opinions, but ultimately, when you can get that together like we have here, you get kind of these really good conversations that we can have going, which is why I will always be imploring you who are watching, whenever you feel like you think you got the chance for it, don't be shy, do not hesitate, get on the open mic. You're probably going to be getting a lot of criticism and fire for a lot of your opinions, which may not be as, flying so well with everyone there, but that's how discussions and debates go. But as you noticed here, it's significantly more cooler when we have flared and open mic. So, thank you for watching DPA Open Mic, the DPA Talk series. Press that like. Bye-bye.
Safe.
Oh, wait, how did I stop? Oh, yeah, there you go. 2 hours.